E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. It's camp reporting day for the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. John, the Eagles officially report to training camp today. How you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Yeah, doing well. Happy report day, everybody. I told them to report to Birds 365 since the Eagles have to report. You might as well come back.
Absolutely.
A lot of people stuck with us, but I have a feeling things are going to spike a little bit, hopefully starting today.
Yep, no doubt about it, Johnny Mack. And then they're back on the practice field tomorrow. So for those listening in and for those who listened the last couple of days, we will have a slightly different schedule here through training camp, with the practices being early in the morning. So tomorrow we will not be until 6 to 8 p.m. at night, and then Thursday as well. And then next week I'll give you guys the next week's schedule on Friday. Friday we will have a normal 8 to 10 a.m. edition of Birds 365 this week. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Just make sure you're checking in and you're looking for my updates so I can let you know when Birds 365 is. Johnny Mack, we're going to talk to Ed Kracz today. I'm excited to talk to Ed. It's been a little bit. I hope he had a great offseason, but I got to give him a little bit of a grilling for the Zack Baun talk, for the Zack Baun list. So we'll talk to Ed about that. I'm looking forward to talking to Ed.
Yeah, wasn't able, our top 25 list, we got through that a little while ago, so I kind of turned the page. I got to remind myself, but I do know I ripped him privately about Zack Baun. So yeah, we can tweak him a little bit, but I'm sure he'll tweak me back. So
yeah, I'm sure he will.
Which is fine.
Yep. Gotta love Eddie K. So we'll talk to him coming up in about 15 minutes here on Birds 365 from Eddie K. Eddie Kracz on SportsIllustrated.com with Johnny Mack. He writes over there. John, the news yesterday, as you predicted many days here on Birds 365, that the Andrew Mukuba deal would get done. And it got done yesterday, and now the Eagles have officially signed all of their 2025 draft picks. The coast is clear, Johnny Mack, heading into training camp now.
Yeah, shocker. Mukuba under contract, but it was a little bit more consternation. But once you saw the logjam break around the league, because the fight was about guaranteed money for second-round picks, fully guaranteed money, which extended into the second round for the first time. And I think they got it to number 40 overall, which was Tyler Shuck. And next year it'll probably go a little bit further. So was never going to affect Drew Mukuba, but, and I haven't seen the numbers yet other than the slot that he's in. But I'm talking about what percentage of his $7.1 billion is fully guaranteed. And I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, it's percentage-wise, it's going to be a new record, because basically every slot has increased their fully guaranteed percentage. So that's a rare positive for the players. But yeah, there was never any doubt. Again, if it were a day or two, there's no real wrangling. Old school wrangling when you used to have legitimate rookie holdouts. There's none of that. Still Cincinnati with Stewart up there, still having problems with their first round pick. But other than that, it's really, you really got to work to not sign your rookie picks now. You really got to work.
Yeah.
You really got to work at it.
Yeah, it was literally just kind of waiting for the dominoes to fall. And you could see last week, John, when they started to fall very quickly for that to happen. So now Mukuba is signed. Everybody is signed. John, what's the next couple of days agenda for you and for this team to kind of prepare everybody as they get to camp? I know today they report. There's no open media access today. Tomorrow they're on the practice field for the very first time. You'll be down there very early. I know you have to get done all of your credential stuff and all of that fun stuff. But Wednesday they're on the practice. Nick Sirianni speaks, I believe, at 9:30 before practice, and then practice is 10 a.m. on Wednesday and Thursday. Fangio speaks before practice on Thursday. So what's kind of the next couple of days look like, John, for this team and for the fans to follow along?
And generally, Howie speaks day one as well. Generally, they don't sort of confirm that, because if he's doing something else, maybe he won't. But over the past number of years, Howie tends to talk on day one as well. So you have dueling Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni. So day one, always a little bit different. That's why I have a little bit of extra time before practice to talk. My guess is Howie's going to be there. But again, so you should tune in for that if you're interested. Practice 10 o'clock. About today, they'll do some conditioning stuff, obviously on board meetings, that kind of stuff as players report. But and then it's off and running, typical training camp schedule, or what it has been for previous years. And for the fans that are in at the NovaCare complex, there are a group that, however the Eagles do it, season ticket holders, sponsors, things like that. It's not open to the public, so you always get a few questions about that. Can I come down? You cannot come down. Well, you can, but you're not going to get in. So that's always a little bit, if you go back to the old days of two-a-days in Lehigh, even for older people, Westchester, where you could just go and make a family day out of it. Those days are long gone. But, why are you lugging everything up to Lehigh or even Westchester or something like that? Most teams now practice in their own facilities, and the Eagles are obviously in that group. I think we're down to 6 who go away, and that's about it. Andy Reid's one of them. Always loved it. Cowboys go to California. Jerry Jones talking. I don't know if people saw Jerry Jones. Boy, Eagles fans are lucky. Yeah, he's just worried about keeping his team in the headlines. Doesn't care.
That's it, man.
Anything else. So anyway, already off on a tangent, but yeah, I mean, typical training camp. You'll see the Eagle down there. You'll see a little bit. I'm sure they'll have the Lombardi trophies out at some point for the fans that are down there. So they try their best to accommodate the fans that are allowed in, but I'm not a big fan of the current training camps around the NFL, as opposed to what they used to be. But that's just the nature of the sport and how it's changed.
Yep, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. John, Eagles have a clear advantage. You just brought up Jerry Jones, and obviously some of the comments he made before or as his training camp kicks off over in Dallas. But Eagles have a clear advantage, John. Before you even step on the field, before you even say hike, before you snap the ball for the first time, the Eagles have a clear advantage over the rest of their division. I mean, the Commanders, they don't have Terry McLaurin under contract, so they have that hanging over their head. Now, maybe it gets dealt with, but you never want to go into camp with that. The Cowboys obviously are what the Cowboys are, and I don't think anybody's really worried about the Giants. But Eagles have a clear advantage, John, heading in before you even get on the field.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, starts with Jeffrey Lurie, because, I think the assumption of most fans is everybody's trying to win, and that's not the case. And, there's a handful that really do care about winning. And Jeffrey's one of them. So it all trickles down from Jeffrey Lurie. In this era of Eagles football, a lot of people, because Jeffrey's been here for so long now, 94 or whatever it is. So, you got a whole generation of fans into 2 generations who really have known nothing else than the Jeffrey Lurie Eagles. And you should be thankful for that, because it wasn't always this way. And there are times in Norman Brayman era and such, back even further, that this was an outpost. This was one of the worst franchises.
Right.
So people are lucky to, in this specific era, 3 Super Bowls in 8 years, 2 Super Bowl championships, which coincided with my arrival, is the best era of Eagles football since really, you probably got to go back to 1949 and 1950, certainly of the modern era.
No doubt about it, John. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm ready for training camp to kick off. I'm excited that Makuba is done and everything is all set for this Eagles team to kind of pick up where they left off. Obviously, a tough thing to do when you have a season as good as last year's team, but I think they're returning a lot of good players. We obviously have talked about some of the things they've lost, and you recently have brought to my attention that you think maybe the human nature has set in of the success. So we'll see if that has anything to do with the season this year or if that impacts their season this year. But overall, I think this team's in a pretty good spot. John, I mentioned I saw JAKIB Campbell and Nakobe Dean over at the NASCAR event this weekend. Boy, JAKIB Campbell's a big dude, man. I think Eagles fans are going to be really excited with that player. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be good, but you look at the athleticism on tape, you see the size of him, you see some of the football IQ that he has. I think he's quickly going to become a fan favorite, John, with Vic Fangio. We'll see when he gets out there. I don't know what that looks like yet or that timeline looks like, but I do think he's a player that's flying under the radar a little bit this offseason. I think fans are going to be fired up about him. I think Vic Fangio is going to be fired up about him.
We already saw Vic when they drafted him on the Eagles unscripted program. Right. The rare smile from Vic Fangio. So yeah, he's excited about having the player. I'm not sure how it'll look early. But, to me, it's about 2026 and beyond, because I do think you have the hope is that Nakobe gets healthy this year. And then it's going to be pretty clear cut, Nakobe and Zack Baun at off-ball linebacker, if that's the case, and for one more year, and then you would kick-start the entire thing. But I think this season, situationally, is where I think JAKIB Campbell, when he's healthy, because he's got to get healthy too, I think that's where you start him and you grow from there. But we'll see how it shakes out. A lot of things depend on other players. Not only Nakobe's injury, but how is Jeremiah Trotter playing when, early in the season, week 1, week 2, when he's likely going to be the starting linebacker? Does he play well? Does he play really poorly? Because if he plays really poorly, then there's an urgency to get JAKIB Campbell on the field a little bit sooner. So a lot depends on how things go with other players as well.
And if he plays really good, I mean, I wonder how much that could play into delaying getting JAKIB Campbell on the field. If you have a player who's in there who's playing really good, you can probably then take your time or at least have a little bit of pressure off and getting him back. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I do think Jeremiah Trotter is going to have a decent start. We'll see how he does, obviously. But what do you think that would look like if Trotter is the flip side of bad? He's really pretty good.
Well, he was really pretty good. The luxury of playing time is nobody's taking you off the field if you play well.
Yeah,
period. So I mean, that's everybody. That's the luxury of playing time. You can go all the way back to Tom Brady. The original plan was, well, Brady, Drew Bledsoe will be back in when he's healthy. Wally Pipp.
Yeah.
Lou Gehrig stepped in. So, if you play well, nobody's taking you off the field. Nobody, with the exception of Travis Fulgham. I'm joking. But even in that instance, it was kind of a surprise to us. Evidently, Travis was a poor practice player, but, and I joke and put him in there. But if you play well, doesn't matter how you got the job, nobody's taking you off the field.
Yep, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. How do you see the cornerback battle starting in camp? You think Ringo will have the first team reps from jump? You think there'll be a rotation? You think they'll make him earn it over Adoree'? How do you see that position playing out? Because I am interested to see if you come to me after practice and you're like, well, they had Coop on the outside today. They had Keeley today. They had Adoree' today. Like, you think there's a big rotation there? You think it's put in Keeley and see how he does from there? What do you think happens with that cornerback spot to start camp?
To start, I think it's going to be exactly like the spring. I think Keeley's going to get the first rep on the first day. Probably Adori's going to get the first rep on the second day, and so forth, moving forward. I think that's how they're going to handle it. Now that's in nickel. When Cooper, so you're going to hear about Cooper outside, but when they only have 2 cornerbacks on the field, he's going to be on the field, but which is rare, as Vic pointed out, in actual game action. I believe he said 160 times last year. That's it. That's how many times they only had 2 corners on the field. When that's the case, it's going to be Cooper and Quinyon. When there are 3 corners on the field, Cooper kicks inside, and Ringo's going to get the first shot, but Adori's going to get a real shot as well. He's going to have to beat him out, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he'll be able to do that. I'm pretty confident in Keely Ringo's ability. He hasn't quite put it together yet. And John, some would point to last year and say, well, he couldn't get on the field last year, even with Slay, missing all that time, and they kept going to Isaiah Rodgers. Do you think that's a knock on Ringo, or do you think that's more of Isaiah fit that role better? Ringo wasn't ready, but it would be fair for someone to say he couldn't really play the backup outside last year. What makes you think he's going to be the full-time starter on the outside this year? I think that would be fair to say. What do you see with that? How do you see that impacting this year?
Well, I think people don't understand, backup roles are different than starting roles. And I always bring up the utility comparison in baseball. Some guys are good at it. They only play once a week and they're good at it. And some guys are terrible at it, even though they're better players if they're playing 5 times a week, because they need that constant playing time, constant at bats to get comfortable. Same thing with football. Some guys are good backups. And some guys who have a lot of talent aren't good backups because they're used to playing a lot and they need to get that feel in the game. Then you talk about Rodgers, he played well to my original point when we're talking about Trotter. So when you play well, nobody's taking you off the field. Even though he's suspended the year prior when he got here, he's got experience, so he knows how to handle sort of stop and start playing time. That's what happened to him in Indianapolis. He was not a full-time starter, but he got a lot of snaps, and so it shouldn't be a surprise that he was more comfortable in a third cornerback role when it's basically in game. When all right, Slay might have a concussion, you got to go in there. It should make a lot of sense that Isaiah Rodgers was the guy he called on. And it becomes, well, he played well with it as well, so you're not going to move away from it. So that doesn't worry me at all. As far as whether or not Kaylee Ringo is going to succeed, it has nothing to do with, it will have nothing to do with Isaiah Rodgers playing over him last year. I mean,
we'll see what ends up happening there with Ringo checking in. We got Ed Kracz in the green room. We've been waiting to talk to Ed Kracz for a little bit. Looking forward to seeing our man Ed. Let's get to one chat here before we get to Ed. Texas T checking in. What's up, Texas T? Member for 8 months. Thank you for being a member for 8 months. We appreciate that support. She says, it's a great day for the guys to report. It's my birthday. There we go. A little birthday.
There you go.
That's a good
birthday present.
Yeah. The Eagles report on your birthday. You must.
Drew McCuba's reporting. Boy, I was really worried about that. I wonder.
Johnny, you prepared, Texas T. You knew Drew McCuba would be signed before your birthday, and that's exactly how it happened. Texas T, thanks for being here, and happy birthday to you. It's a great day for your birthday, and it's a great day for the Eagles to report to training camp. Let's get to our main man, Ed Kracz, joining us now here on Birds 365. You can read all his work at si.com. You can follow him at KratzE. Eddie K, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Hey, man, doing good. Football's right around the corner, right? Everybody should be excited.
Yep. Where's your anxiety level, Ed?
It's pretty high. This past week, I feel like I've been walking the Green Mile, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's always anxiety leading up to camp. It's just the grind, and once you get into it, you're not even thinking about it. But it is a grind, but it's a fun grind. So
it's the beginning, Ed. It's the getting out of the off-season mode and back into the grind mode for sure. But Ed, I'm pretty excited, man. We got a bunch of things to talk to you about today. What's on your mind though? As the Eagles report to camp today, they're on the practice field tomorrow. What's top of mind for Ed Kracz to watch for, to write about, and to report on as the Eagles get to training camp this week?
Yeah, it's always the quarterback for me, Jalen Hurts. He's probably at the top of the list, coming in as the MVP, the reigning MVP of the Super Bowl. How will that impact, his demeanor on the field? Brandon Graham is not there anymore. And, I know him and Hurts and Graham were very close. So we'll see how Hurts interacts with other teammates. We'll see if maybe his demeanor changes with the media. Maybe he's a little more open. Maybe he gives us a little bit more. He's got Kevin Patullo as his new offensive coordinator, another one. But we'll just see. We'll see how this Super Bowl MVP shapes him in this training camp. And then after that, it's probably the rookies. I always like to watch the rookies, how they begin camp. Jahad Campbell, will he be doing anything at all tomorrow, first day of practice? Eagles tend to take things slowly with their injured players, but I suspect that Jahad Campbell will do something. I don't know how much, but I think they want this guy to play, and I think he'll participate in some drills tomorrow. Nakobe Dean, unfortunately, won't. He'll probably be put on the PUP list maybe today or, first thing in the morning before practice begins. But, there's some other injuries to keep an eye on too, and see how these guys, how much they do this week. Guys like Nolan Smith with the torn tricep in the Super Bowl. We'll see if he's raring to go. Cam Jurgens with his back. What's up with that? Is Drew Kendall going to get a lot of the snaps? We saw Brett Toth get a lot of the first team snaps at center. Kind of mixed results. Didn't always snap it accurately to Jalen Hurts. So, guys like that, the key guys that have injury issues coming in is something I'll be watching in the early days as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think people assume that Nolan will be ready to go and Cam will be ready to go, but Cam didn't work at all in spring work, and Nolan did. And you remember he said he was ready to strike for minicamp, but the Eagles said, no, settle down.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they're ready to go right away or if they hold them back a little bit. Jahad was working in individual stuff, so I expect him to do at least that to start. I think that would be a likely path forward. So I start to look at the competitions, Ed, and 95% of them are on the defensive side with all the turnover, all the change. But I also, doing a story last week over at si.com/NFL/Eagles. You can also read Ed there. Boy, and they're young on defense. Oldest player on defense, Perry Nickerson, who was 30. And Adoree Jackson will turn 30 in September. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to, and I want to ask Howie this if he talks tomorrow. Hopefully I get it in, about the youth on defense and how he factors that in when he's building this roster. Because you just mentioned BG. Slay is gone. Team captain, experience. Because they were very young last year, but they had that leadership, that experience sprinkled in. Doesn't exist this year, Ed.
Right. Yeah. Even Josh Sweat, right? Josh Sweat, I think 28 years old. Yeah, you're right. And that's a key question, is who is going to assume that leader mantleship without Slay, without BG, without Sweat even. It is so young. What's it, like 25 years old on the average?
Crazy.
And Howie did address that to an extent in one of our meetings with him. He's the one that said we are very young on defense, and we'll see how it all comes together. But it's a great question for him if he talks tomorrow. I don't think he's scheduled to talk.
Yeah, they never schedule him, but
I know he just shows up. But who knows? I mean, if it was my guess as to who the leader will be, it's got to be Zach Baun, right? I mean, he's the guy that filled up the stat sheet last year, led this team in tackles. But, you know, when he talked to us, he said he's still trying to determine what this leadership role is going to look like for him. He's not exactly a outspoken, vocal guy. So who's going to be that guy? Certainly Jalen Carter isn't that guy. He's another one of your top players on that side of the ball. Quinyon Mitchell, he can't be. Cooper DeJean, these guys are only in their second year, so who's going to step up? I think Jordan Davis could be a real candidate to take over that leadership role. And Reed Blankenship, of course, he's talked about it. He says he's ready to do it. But we'll see. I mean, that defense is going to need direction when adversity strikes, and you know it will. Who are they going to lean on?
Yeah, I think the loss of Brandon Graham, guys, is bigger than we've even talked about, John, this summer. But, you know, on the field is one thing. Off the field, where Brandon Graham's had a career in Philly where it's been up and down. He's played awful and he's played great. He's achieved the highest of highs and he's seen the lowest of lows with the team. And I think having a guy like that to talk with the young players is important, and you're losing that. So it will be interesting to see there. Ed, though, you brought up Zack Baun, and
he's ready for you, Ed.
I got it. Ed, I love you, Ed. All right, I read all your work at SI. We followed,
and I appreciate it, Xander. I appreciate it, buddy.
You're in Johnny Mac's top 25 Eagles players list, and I'm scratching my eyes. I'm looking. I'm like, John, this can't be right, right?
Yeah,
Zack Baun at number 11 behind Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Ed, talk me through this, man. How did Zack Baun get so low on the list?
Full disclosure, I threw you under the bus, Ed. I was like, hey, don't blame me. Blame me.
I would expect nothing less, John. You know, I mean, you like to paint yourself as a foxhole guy, but you know, I still have some questions.
That's a shtick. Although I did save your life in Baltimore, so that's a foxhole.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, I could, you know, who knows what would have happened if that car would have hit me. But anyway, my wife is nearby and she overheard that, so she might have some questions later about the incident. But anyhow, Zack Baun? Yeah, number 11. Well, my contention with Zack Baun is I think in any other system with any other defensive coordinator, he's, you know, maybe a slightly above average linebacker, I think. But in the system that he plays in, and Vic Fangio understanding his strengths, makes him a really good player in this system. But we're looking at the best Eagles players, and you know, to me, it's a very talented roster. And you know, Baun just did not get inside the top 10 for me. And again, if he was a better linebacker, like I think Nakobe Dean would be a good linebacker in any system, just because of his skill set, because of his aggression. But Baun, to me, is a kind of a creation of Vic Fangio. So to me, he's not quite in that top 10. And that's kind of, you know, if you want to call it a penalty that I assessed him on that, you probably could do that. If he has another season like this, 150 tackles and 5 forced fumbles and 3.5 sacks and a couple interceptions, then, you know, he probably gets inside my top 10. But right now, I just think in Vic Fangio's system, he's just kind of a creation of Vic Fangio, because in New Orleans, he wasn't that guy. He was in a different system, different coordinators, but he comes here and Vic Fangio really made him kind of a Frankenstein on that defense. You know, he's a monster.
Quick follow-up on it, though, Ed. Are you confident then in him coming into this year? Because, you know, there is a line of thinking of 1 year. You know, 1 year guy is not necessarily a proven NFL player. How many times have we seen a player have a good 1 year and then that's it? You know, Josh Uche had a year where he had double-digit sacks. How confident are you in Zack Baun coming into this year? Because in my estimation, that defense needs him to be as good or better than last year with all the losses that they've had around him.
Yeah, I'm confident. Listening to him talk, he said, you know, he's not, you know, he wants to get better. He still wants to get better. He still wants to improve, you know, so he's talking the talk. And I suspect he's going to walk the walk. And, you know, having that year, he's going to come in with a boatload of confidence. Players will be looking at him to follow his lead, to follow his example, ask him questions. So I'm not that concerned about Zack Baun at all, having another solid year. Will he have another year like he did last year? I don't know. It was such a great year. It's a high bar. But if he can come close to that, then that's going to be fine. But I don't have any questions. I think, like I said, just listening to him talk, you know, he wants to be continue to be, I guess, great. He wants to build on that. And this is a guy that wasn't given anything when he came into the league. 4 years, he got nothing, scraps, special team stuff, a couple snaps on defense. He feels like he's paid his dues and he's ready for this moment. And I don't think he's going to just all of a sudden say, yeah, I made it. I arrived. I'm getting paid $51 million now. I can kick back and enjoy that. No, I don't think Baun is that type of person. I think he'll answer the bell again here in the second season.
I think a lot of it, it's going to be difficult for him to replicate last season.
Yeah.
From just a playmaking standpoint. It's just, it's going to be difficult. First team all pro. That part of it may not show up, but, I think to your point about Vic, there's no doubt that Vic Fangio contributed to Zack Baun. I mean, Howie brought him in there to be a backup edge rusher and a special teams player.
Right.
And Vic said, you know what? He's got good instincts. I think he can play off the ball. And Vic turned out to be right. So sometimes you just need that opportunity. But Vic wasn't out there playing for him, Ed. He was the guy making plays. Vic found what others didn't see in New Orleans. So he deserves a ton of credit for that. I think a lot of Zack Baun moving forward is how quickly can Nakobe get back?
Yeah.
Because if he's got to play middle linebacker, and he may not, Trotter might play middle linebacker, but that's going to be interesting to see because Vic said that depends on the other guys. We know Zack can do it. So if Trot can't do it, if Campbell can't do it, and Nakobe's not there, he's got to play middle linebacker, and that's sort of a more disciplined position. You're not free to make as many of the as those splash plays that he was making last season.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think some of this guys might be tied to Jahad Campbell is how quickly he can get in there because, I don't think he'll start against Dallas, but I think there'll be some sub packages for him, but he has to get into camp quickly here. We saw Cooper DeJean miss most of camp, came back the final week, played in the final preseason game, and he didn't get into the starting lineup until week 5 or 6, I guess it was.
After the bye.
Right. So week 6, yeah. So if Campbell's going to play a role on this defense, and they really want him to, obviously, and I think they're going to try to make that happen, he could be maybe your inside middle linebacker in some sub packages with Jeremiah Trotter. Remember when Nakobe got hurt, the thinking was that Trotter and Oren Burks were going to be kind of splitting time, and then Burks, he got the first crack at it and really did well, and the Eagles never looked back, and it was Burks's job. So you could see a situation like that where it's Trotter and Campbell maybe rotating in at middle linebacker until one of those guys asserts himself. So and that would allow Baun to stay where he was last year. And, another thing about Baun is maybe they let him rush the passer a little bit. The edge, when you look at that edge, and maybe we were going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
That's probably, my biggest concern going into camp. And there's a couple of them, but I think edge would be at the top for me in the depth and who's going to step up. Is it going to be Ojulari? Is it going to be Uche? Is it going to be both of them? Is Jalix Hunt going to be able to take that step forward that we all expect? But listen, Fangio could put Baun on the edge and let him rush the passer. It's what he did in New Orleans a little bit. It's what he thought he was going to do last year. We all have talked about how Baun kept asking Fangio, hey, when am I going to rush the passer? Right. And he never got that opportunity really from an edge standpoint. He did blitz several times, but he could put him on the edge for a sub package of plays during the course of a game if he's not seeing what he wants to see from some of the guys that are supposed to do it.
Are you surprised at all that the Eagles are going to be on the field tomorrow, Ed, and their edge rushing situation is basically Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Azeez Ojulari, and Josh Uche, as you mentioned?
Yeah, I am. Absolutely. They like to rotate defensive linemen, and especially on the edge, right, to keep guys fresh, but Howie was asked that going into the Super Bowl last year, and he's thinking differently now that, hey, we don't really need to sub as much maybe because they kind of did that last year. They didn't sub as much on the edge. So but still, it feels.
You don't have Brandon and Josh. You don't have guys who.
Yeah, it feels light. It feels like a big roll of the dice. But again, maybe Fangio he's got some wild cards there. Maybe he rolls Jalen Carter out on the edge for 5 snaps a game or 3 snaps a game, or maybe Ty Robinson really steps up and shows the ability on the outside. Baun we talked about as a possibility. The Patrick Robinson, he's back again. Can he kind of be an effective,
Patrick Johnson, but
I'm
Patrick,
sorry,
Patrick
not Robinson. Sorry, Patrick Johnson. Could he be an 8 to 10 snap guy on the edge? These are all things that they're going to have to sort through in camp, because even with 4 guys, and even if Ojulari and Uche are, great contributors and they come in with 5 sacks each, whatever, show the ability to drop in pass coverage, you're still a little short there. If you have an injury to one of those guys, there's no depth, and that
Antoine Powell Ryland, baby.
Yeah, Antoine Powell.
How many edge rushers are they going to keep this year? 5, 6?
5, I would think.
5?
Yes.
I think they'd like to maybe keep 6, but I don't think
that's
they have
what I'm
6 to
thinking, Ed, because then you're going to have to let Johnson. You're probably going to have to let Patrick Johnson go if you want to get APR in there. I think obviously.
Well, I think knowing how he's keeping APR unless he completely wraps the bed in training camp.
Right.
So to me, it's between Patrick Johnson and Josh Uche for that last spot. And do you want the special teams guy, the versatile guy? Because Patrick can play off ball, he can rush,
right?
He can play special teams, or do you want the pure pass rusher? That to me is going to be the competition. But I brought this up. I want to run this by you. Human nature. I wrote about it at SI. Like, if everything goes the exact same last year, except the Eagles lose to Kansas City in the Super Bowl, so they're NFC champions. They have the same difficulties with upcoming extensions with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, et cetera, et cetera. Cam Jurgens, who they already got done. Everything the same, except they lost that game. Is there any way Howie Roseman isn't breaking down doors to get an edge rusher?
Probably, yeah. I would say that he probably is trying to break down doors. And maybe he did try that a little bit this offseason, but I don't know who was out there. I mean, the big names, J.J. Watt, he wasn't going anywhere. Trey Hendrickson is holding out now today. He did not report to Cincinnati's camp. Maybe he's still in play. I doubt it, but you're right. Maybe if they don't win that game, maybe he's making a bigger play for a guy like Hendrickson who's unhappy and bringing him in. But, I think Zander mentioned this on a show at some point where maybe the Eagles' philosophy isn't we don't need that guy to get 15 sacks. Right. We have, 13 players recorded at least a half a sack last year. The leader was Josh Sweat at 8.5, and they still won the Super Bowl. They still sacked Patrick Mahomes 6 times with a player who's
defense in football.
Yeah, right. So maybe that's their philosophy. And I heard Zander bring that up on a show, during this offseason, that maybe that's the philosophy is we don't need that one guy to get us 15 to 20 sacks. We have, 5 guys that can get us 5 to 10 sacks. And maybe that's what they're looking at. Maybe that's what they're hoping for with Uche and Ojulari, if they can reach that number. And, of course, I think a lot of this is predicated on Jalen Hunt. Can he take that step that we all expect? During OTAs, I mentioned him as, my breakout star of the year for the Eagles. To me, he's probably my guy to pick to be that breakout player. And if I'm doing that, the Eagles are probably thinking the same thing, as we need Hunt to really step up his game and get 5 to 10 sacks. And I love the way he played late in the year. I thought he showed speed off the edge. I thought he showed a good assortment of moves. And I think he will be that guy. But that's really the key to me, is getting Hunt in that 5 to 10 sack range.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too. And that's where I wonder if Ojulari gets on the field a little bit more, Ed, to the point of, I need a guy that can set the edge and stop the run and be that all-around defensive end. That's where I could see Ojulari being an important piece for Fangio. But look, Jalen Hunt was pretty good at that. It was a small sample size, but I think he's been pretty good at that, and he's very versatile as well. So you have been high on Jalen, Ed, since they since last season.
Oh, that's a big Jalen sign.
Yeah, and I like him too, but John has cautioned me on putting the cart before the horse on it. So I want to let him do it, but I am confident in his ability to do it. It should be interesting to see.
Yeah, John, do you have a breakout player on defense? With maybe
I'm a big Ringo guy, but
okay.
I'm a big Ringo guy because AJ told me to be a big Ringo guy.
Yeah, I know your team, AJ. The thing that Ringo concerns me is just, he's such a big guy playing on the outside. Can he cover somebody deep? There's something
can run.
He can run, but the concern to me is his hips. Can he flip his hips quick enough to keep up? Big guys can have trouble with that. I'm not saying he does, but and some of the things I've watched him do during training camp last year and spring this year is I just wonder about his hips. Can he shift those hips quickly enough to keep up with, someone going deep like a CD Lamb or, Terry McLaurin, some of these guys he's going to be playing in the NFC East, Malik neighbors. I don't know. He's going to have to show me that. But certainly
here's what I'll say, and Ed's right, which I admit I'm team AJ. But AJ doesn't give out empty praise. Like there's stuff I don't talk about that he says because he's not giving out empty praise.
Yeah.
And like he's the biggest, fastest, strongest receiver in football, and if he's giving him issues, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Again, you're right. I mean, but we'll see. I mean, Keely Ringo's been working against AJ Brown since he got in the league. He kind of knows what AJ's going to do, so maybe that helps.
Yeah,
can he do it against guys that he doesn't see every day? Guys I just mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And by the way, I think the Eagles are not going to be as good at corner as they were last year because I don't think Slay gets enough credit.
He doesn't. No, you're right.
And there's
such
no
a great
way.
guy. He's such a great guy in the locker room.
I know. He did miss significant time, though. He was great when he was on the field, but I do wonder if the stability, if you get more stability, that could help on the back end. I mean, Slay was great. But he did. I don't know what the percentage of snaps that he missed last year, John. I know you said his number yesterday.
It wasn't a ton. He was over 900. He had little pockets where got a concussion and he missed half a game. And but overall, he played well, almost 1,000 snaps. He was out there a lot, especially when you consider his age. Look, that guy's. I think he's going to Hall of Fame. I really believe that. Is borderline 6-time Pro Bowl player. You're not just seamlessly moving. I know they've done it. Cam did a nice job replacing Jason Kelsey. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very unlikely, especially at a position like that where you're going to get beat, you're going to get crapped on, you got to handle it. There's so many mental parts to that position as well. That really affect younger players, even if they're gifted like Gilly. So I'm not trying to say they're going to get better or anything, but I do think he's got a chance to be a good player.
Yeah, you're right. I just looked up Slay's snaps. He played 699 snaps, 67% last year. So
I was counting the playoffs. He's over 900 count the playoffs, but
but still roughly 70% or a little bit under 70% for the year. So
that's a big loss. And Quinion was a rookie, probably, and so was Cooper, and they probably leaned on Slay a lot when they had questions. And maybe the bigger question is, when he didn't play, it was Isaiah Rodgers' game. And he's another guy that will be missed. That's probably underrated, especially in the locker room. Isaiah was always in the locker room, always talking to his teammates. And then, I went to Devontae Smith's celebrity softball all-star game, and Rodgers spoke, and so did Kenny Moore, who he recruited to come play in that game. Kenny Moore, great slot cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts for 8 or 9 years, and they're best friends. And Kenny Moore talked a lot about Isaiah Rodgers, the locker room, Isaiah Rodgers, and how guys would lean to him, lean on him for answers and for making things fun. When you're going through stress, Rodgers was able to kind of, alleviate some of that stress by the way he acted, by the things he said. So that's another issue, is not only the Isaiah Rodgers on the field, which was huge because he stepped in and did a good job. Who's going to fill that role? Is it going to be Adoree Jackson if he's not the starter, or Keely Ringo? And can they do it to Rodgers' level? But also the Rodgers inside the locker room, always there, right next to Cooper DeJean's locker, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be something to monitor too, is how much they're going to miss Rodgers.
Ed, talk to me about the safety position, because you got Reed Blankenship returning. Some think a contract's coming. John thinks a contract's coming. I think a contract's coming. I'm not exactly sure. You lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and you're now relying on either Andrew Makuba and or Sidney Brown to step up into that role. I think that's one of the bigger positions of a bigger question mark coming into the season on the defense this year. What do you think of that safety position as we kick off training camp?
Yeah, I'm a big Makuba fan. I think he's going to have a solid rookie season. They want him to start. I think he's going to be the starter. Vic Fangio, first year with them, I'm sure Fangio had a big impact on them drafting him. So I think he's going to start. Getting him signed yesterday was big. Obviously, you don't want to miss any time at the start of camp. So I think he's going to be just fine. And then Tristan McCollum and Sidney Brown, I think they're good depth guys. They're what we talk about Rodgers being last year is kind of that reserve cornerback ready to step in if someone got hurt, or as a third cornerback if you needed him. I think Brown and McCollum are two solid, backup players, and that's what I think they'll be. Sidney Brown, to me, will they keep him? If they cut him, that would be a real surprise. But could they trade him? Possibly. Justin Simmons is still sitting out there. I think he's a long shot at this point to be brought in. But I love Makuba. I think that safety spot's going to be fine. You mentioned Blankenship and his contract. I would be surprised, like you guys, if he doesn't get it. I think going into that first game, he's going to have a new contract. We saw Howie lock up Mulata a couple years ago and Sweat a couple years ago. The day before they opened the season, I think it was in Atlanta. That might have been 4 or 5 years ago. I would expect something similar with Reed Blankenship. I think he gets a contract extension at some point. Safety contracts are going up, and up. And I'm not sure Blankenship's in that upper tier of
let me just play
yet.
devil's advocate 1 second here. They spent a second-round pick on Makuba and a third-round pick on Sidney Brown. You still got to pay. Nolan's coming up. You got Jalen Carter coming up. You obviously just paid Baun. You got the secondary guys that are going to come up eventually. Now, I know some of them are a couple years out, but one could say, are you sure they're going to pay Reed Blankenship? They got a lot of guys to pay on that defense, and they used 2 premium picks on safeties in the last couple of years. Maybe potentially they're looking at Brown and Makuba. Now, I don't think that's what they're doing, but I'm wondering if it's possible.
Well, that's a good point. But I think that Reed isn't, like I said, one of those upper tier safeties yet as far as the salary goes. I think you can get him at a somewhat of a discount price maybe. He's an undrafted free agent. But boy, he's such a good ball hawk.
I like him. I want him to sign him. I just don't.
Yeah, he's got like he's got like 8 interceptions in his career. Or
right. Not throughout 15 million. Yeah. Like, is that too
million?
rich? Yeah, is that too rich?
Well, the only reason I brought that up is because Cam Bynum signed as a free agent in the offseason, got $15 million. Reed's better than Cam Bynum. He's better.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
But to Ed's point, and I bring it up all the time on the show, that undrafted free agency tag follows you. I don't think he's getting $15 million, but I think he deserves $15 million.
Yeah. But listen, the Eagles gave him a shot. If you can get, 4 years, $50 million, maybe, it gives him long-term security, as long-term as it gets in the NFL with these contracts. But, if they give him some guaranteed money up front, give him some years, maybe you can get it done for less than $15 million. And I think Reed might take that. Getting back to Nolan Smith as a possible re-sign. I'm still, I want to see Nolan Smith have a great year. I really do, before I start thinking, okay, he's got to be one of those guys that comes back. I know edge rushers are hard to find, and you drafted a pretty good one here. But I want to see him do it this year. I want to see him get close to 10 sacks.
Boy, that is such a catch-22, Ed. You're like rooting for the guy to have a breakthrough season. And if he does, who just signed edge rusher? I'm trying just signed yesterday.
Karlaftis, John.
Karlaftis, yeah.
I mean, you're talking $25 million if he has a big season.
Yeah, but that's kind of the going rate. I mean, look at TJ Watt and Myles Garrett and these top echelon guys that have been doing it, over 100 career sacks. You know, and Karlaftis is great. I love Karlaftis coming into the draft, and he's really
a good player. He's a good player, but he's not great
too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the Greek water polo Olympic team for Greece.
That's
talk about an athlete. But you're right, John, with Nolan Smith, as you're looking at probably 25-30 million if he has a great year, but then he probably earned it. And then you have to put him in that mix with Jalen Carter. We got to get something done, but can they?
That's kind of why I brought up Reed, guys, because I'm looking at this
right.
and I'm like, I love Reed. Don't get me wrong. I want Reed to be here because I think Reed is your most stable force right now in that secondary, even including the young players that are coming up. I think Reed is the guy. But I am looking at some of the things they have coming up. I mean, next offseason, by the way, Jordan Davis too. They're going to have to address that next year. So there is a lot of people to pay.
Well, that's why this was the Temu offseason. That's why it was discount offseason. Try to get those ducks in a row because you knew what was coming up.
Yeah.
I also believe that's my whole point in rounding back. Sorry, Ed, is that if they didn't win the Super Bowl, they wouldn't have that philosophy. So that's the human nature of success. That's what Nick Sirianni's fighting against. It's human nature to let out a sigh of relief. We did it. We can do this now. As opposed to if you come up just short, you're fighting and clawing to get over the top.
Right.
Yeah, well, think back when they came up just short 2 years ago. What did they do? I mean, I'm asking. I'd have to look and think hard on it. But what did they do that showed that desperation? Is, hey, we got to get better here.
Well, it was more noticeable after the collapse because they went out and got in Saquon because of Saquon's season.
Right.
But even it didn't work out with Bryce up, but they were trying. I have to look back at 2023. Obviously, they were very good coming in, and they started 10-1 before the collapse. I think the timing, because obviously they weren't able to get Fangio. Let's be honest. I mean, what is I say this all the time, Ed. What the hell is the difference between the 23 Eagles and the 24 Eagles?
You're asking me?
Well, they had the worst defense versus the best defense in 1 year. They had Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. And then the complementary nature of having the number one defense. If you gave that 23 Eagles offense the number one defense as a compliment, they might have won the whole thing that year.
Right. And they almost did with the way it was configured. So, yeah, I guess defensively they went out. When did they draft Carter? That was in 23. He went to the Super Bowl as a rookie, right?
No, Carter
that was a collapse,
added the year after the Super Bowl.
Okay. So, so they addressed the defense, right? And they drafted Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. So that was kind of what they did. Would they have drafted an edge rusher in the first round? And maybe they did with Jahad Campbell. We don't know what he's going to be.
Yeah.
But, did they go out and get another edge rusher, after winning the Super Bowl? Possibly. We don't know yet. But, yeah, it's interesting. Winning the Super Bowl certainly gives them some leeway here. I'm not really sold on this defense yet. I mean, you got to see it. Everybody assumes it's going to be, one of the top defenses in the league, and it certainly has one of the best defensive minds leading it in Vic Fangio. And I thought it was interesting when Fangio said, hey, we had a lot of questions going into last year, too, on the defensive side of the ball, and they answered them. Yeah. So, we could see more of the same, and this is a top-ranked defense, or we could see a little bit of a step back here that we're not expecting.
Yeah. Ed, final question for me, man. I want to talk to you a little bit about the offense You mentioned Jalen Hurts as your top thing, and I'm with you, right? I'm always watching the quarterback. That's first thing for me on any NFL team. What do you expect to be different this year on the offense, or nothing at all? But, it's one of those highly talked about things that Jalen is your top 10 quarterback. They ran the ball last year. What do you expect in the evolution of the Eagles offense coming into the 2025 season?
I think we're going to see Jalen Hurts throw it a little bit more. I don't think Barkley's going to have, what did he have, close to 500 touches last year between the regular
482, including the postseason.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. That's a big workload. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a step back on his touches this year, Saquon's, and they let Jalen Hurts kind of come out and throw the ball a little bit more, and we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't go well, then you throw that plan out the window, and then maybe you start giving it to Saquon a little bit, but. Maybe they reduce his touches also if A.J. Dillon can prove that he is the player he was a couple years ago. Missed all of last year, kind of like Isaiah Rodgers, missed all of one season due to a suspension. Wasn't a health-related thing, of course, but, A.J.'s coming off that neck, the stinger problem. Hopefully he can find a role on this team. We'll see about that. I'm not so sure, but if he can,
I have concerns with A.J. Dillon because he's a big physical back who's got neck issues.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely right. We'll see. I'm sure he'll have a monitored workload in the summer. Can he find his way back? And then you have Will Shipley and, maybe some of the undrafted kids step up. But getting back to Hurts, I mentioned Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham and Jalen Hurts had a really tight relationship. Graham was kind of Hurts' confidant, and you saw that when Graham retired. Jalen Hurts was there for the retirement. That's how close they were. A couple others were also Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, but Jalen and Brandon were close, and Brandon won't be on the field this year. So, Jalen might have been a little closed off to some of his teammates. Maybe this will force him to kind of open up a little bit to some of other teammates because Brandon isn't there. And again, like I said to start the show, he's a Super Bowl MVP. How is that going to impact him this year? We made such a big deal last year when he didn't throw an interception all camp long until the very end when Slade picked him off. And then he had a great season, Hurts did, coming out of the bye. The first couple games were a struggle. But I think we're going to see Hurts given more responsibility in the passing game. And we'll see how that works.
All right. At Kratzy, make sure you follow Ed on the X platform, especially with training camps starting. Unfortunately for him, I will see him tomorrow. Potentially. We're all day to day.
Yep, that's right.
We're all day to day. reademsi.com/NFL/Eagles. And Ed, I like your notebook, buddy.
I got 12 of them, John. Went on Amazon.
I just did. For people who don't know, I just did the notebook gambit in public. In public, I did it.
Yep. Hey, if you need one, I got one.
There you go. Eddie K, we appreciate it, man. We missed you. It was great having you back on the show. We got a great season ahead of us, hopefully, and we'll see. We'll be following all your work at si.com. We'll be following you at Kratzy over on Twitter. Thank you, Ed. We'll talk to you again soon, brother.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
All right. There's Ed Kracz joining us here on Birds 365. Always good to talk to Ed Kracz. Johnny Mac, I love talking to Ed Kracz. He's just one of the upbeat, good guys to listen to on the beat, John. I love listening to Ed.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Good guy is what he is. But he did call, he essentially, and this again speaks to the insanity with the quarterback position. He just called Zack Baun a system linebacker. Nobody cares, but if you say that about the quarterback, people lose their mind.
Well, I think the difference there is that Jalen has had a lot of years that look a lot different,
I think every year looks almost the same. I'm the exact opposite.
Really? I feel like 22, they asked him to be the RPO, and he kind of had a lot of the pressure on him.
Well, I'm talking about the offense as a whole is very similar. And no matter with the coordinator, no matter who's calling the plays, that's why I think it's
I agree with. I just think Hurts has to be a different player,
the other stuff, you have to be a different player if you don't have Saquon Barkley and you have DeAndre Swift. That is dependent on other stuff. But I think what they ask him to do is very similar each year. And he's getting better and better, by the way. But from a processing standpoint, things like that. So, but he did not have his best season last year. But no. I'm just saying, you know, a lot of guys are considered system players. Not that Ed's incorrect, or a lot of guys are better in one system than another system. Go back to Fletcher Cox, you know, hating the Fangio style scheme after playing in the Jim Schwartz style scheme. A lot of players are like that. Happens at every position, but obviously everything's magnified when it's the quarterback.
No doubt about it, Johnny Mac. We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back. Ed also had some good takes or good, interesting thoughts on the defensive side of the ball, John. You look at that cornerback room, you look at that safety room. There's a lot of questions, man, on the defense that we're going to have answers for, or at least start to get answers for on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm looking forward to it all. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Good to see everybody in the chat. We got a big crowd in here. I thought Ed Kracz was great today, so we thank him for joining the show. Anybody that has some comments or wants to hit on some things pre-training camp, drop your super chats below. They are much appreciated here as we kick off the start of training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles season. We'll take our quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Birds 365 in 3 minutes.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. The Philadelphia Eagles officially report for training camp today. They'll be on the practice field tomorrow morning. Nick Sirianni and presumably Howie Roseman will speak pre-practice, and then they're on the field at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We are 40 44 days away, John, from the season opener. So camp kicks off today. Well, they report today, kicks off tomorrow. 44 days away from the season opener. Football season is here, and there's plenty to talk about on this Eagles team. But Johnny Mack, it's all started, and tomorrow will be your first day down at NovaCare for the 2025 training camp.
Yeah, 2025. Jalen Hurts just arrived. Eagles X account just put that up a couple minutes ago. So the quarterback one is in the house. Everybody will. Everybody in the NFL will be in training camp by tomorrow. So the entire league will be in. And we're off and running, but you will not hear the word repeat coming from Nick Sirianni. I guarantee you that. Or it will be a big flub.
No doubt about it. We'll see how it all works out. John, something interesting that Ed brought up that I wanted to touch on with you is just the leadership on the defensive side of the ball. We've talked about the losses, obviously, and Slay and Brandon Graham and some of those things, but, you know, I don't know if they have a real – now, I know they have leaders, but it's different to lead when you're not as established of a player. How do you see that shaking out on the defensive side of the ball with the leaders? I think you have the right coordinator with Vic Fangio, who I think that does matter when it comes to leadership, but you lost Slay. You lost Brandon Graham. You lost the vocal on-field guy and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Who steps into those roles, and which one of those roles maybe you don't need to fill every one of those roles? You know, maybe some of them are overrated. What do you say about that and the young guys stepping up into those roles?
Well, I think to me it's pretty evident of what's going to happen. Jordan Davis is going to be the leader of the defensive front. Nakobe Dean, linebackers, Reed Blankenship, safeties. It would be stunning to me if, when you talk about captains, I don't think captains matter that much, but it would be stunning to me if Reed Blankenship is not a captain and Nakobe's not a captain from the defensive side, with the only possible curveball of Nakobe not being healthy, so that could impact things. But those are the two obvious leaders to me. And I look at it from a room standpoint. So to me, there's obvious leaders in Clint Hurts' room, and Bobby King's room, and Joe Casper's room. Now, edge, who's the leader? It's Nolan Smith. Cornerback, who's the leader? Probably Adoree Jackson.
He's not on the field. I mean,
probably again. I mean, Kaylee's too quiet. Quinyon's too quiet. Cooper is, has a little bit more personality, a little bit, more outgoing, but I can't call him a leader in year two. That to me, edge rusher and corner, there's no obvious candidates. I think Adoree's pretty obvious, but he just got here. So sometimes you don't want to be that guy who walks in and he doesn't have the gravitas as a player. Like Slay could walk in tomorrow again and be the leader.
That's kind of how I feel about BG too, where he's been here. He's had so much experience.
Oh, yeah, BG as well. Yeah, BG as well. Even Josh. I mean, BG handed, and BG even said that publicly. He handed the leadership role amongst the edge group to Josh Sweat last year. Josh is gone too. So, and Azeez Ojulari has a little bit more experience, but still young, not proven for the most part. Josh Uche, same thing. Patrick Johnson's not good enough. He might not even make the team. So I always say I'd rather have good players, and they have good players, specifically a corner, especially with Quinyon and Cooper. But I'd rather have good players, but yeah, it's not nothing, the leadership part of it. And I think Nakobe and Reed are the obvious captaincy candidates on defense.
It's fair. JD checks in. What's up, JD? With a super chat here on this topic. He says, how likely are we to add a depth edge rusher? I don't mind Uche and Ojulari as pass rushers, but need another guy who can set the edge for 3 down. See, I actually think Ojulari is a little bit better at that than people think. He's not. Is he just he's not a one-trick pony out there. I feel like he was a guy that could be better against the run too.
Well, I haven't seen him play enough, to be honest, but I don't get I don't get the sense that New York was turning him into a 3-down player. Now the Giants aren't exactly the best organization, that haven't been the best organization in recent years. So maybe they missed something, and they're pretty deep. That the one they're obviously even deeper, but I know he didn't play well with the Giants last year. It's one of the reasons he was in the position he was in, with some decent sack numbers if you look at it from a playing time standpoint. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a big leap to call him a 3-down edge rusher. And that's part of my problem. I was trying to look up, played 391 snaps, which is, again, rotational. 92nd graded out of 119 from PFF. So not good.
Yeah, not great.
Run defense, I'm trying to look up. He was a little bit better than he was as a pass rusher, which is not good on 2 categories, because he wasn't good as a pass rusher, and he was slightly better as a run defender. So below average to below average last year with the Giants. Can he get better? Sure, he's still young. He's going to be playing with, well, I mean, the one part of the Giants team you probably can't criticize is the defensive front. So it's not like he was playing with a bunch of knuckleheads. I don't. But to JD's question, basically, if you're saying set the edge for 3 downs, you're talking about a starting player. Are they bringing in a starting player?
I don't think so. I'm just wondering if he could be the guy who could play ahead of J-Lux. I don't know. I mean, I'm confident in J-Lux Hunt, but are we thinking about that the wrong way, that there's no battle there? I think
I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah, well, you're the one who kind of brought it to my attention.
Yeah. I'm very concerned about it. I'm surprised. And Ed's surprised as well. I'm surprised how he's going into training camp with this group. Now, to JD's point about 3, that might be the CJ Gardner-Johnson like trade later in camp, when Vic goes to him and says, "Look, dude, we don't have enough." That might be that style of trade where you bring in a starter late in the process. But again, it won't be Trey Hendrickson like. It'll be CJ Gardner-Johnson like, who was under the radar and is on the last year of his rookie deal and isn't going to get a lot of playing time in his current situation. The Eagles think he might have upside. That type of player. I could definitely see that happen in August, after Vic takes a look at what he has and says, all right, we gave it a shot. This is not enough. Which I think that there's a good chance that happens.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you talk about trading for a guy late in the year. What does that look like? Because we already got the contract things that we've talked about. You got Reed. You got all these things upcoming. I don't think they're going to trade for a splash guy. how many options are out there at the edge for a guy like a Jahan Dotson and that role? I don't know. I don't think that's as simple as we're thinking.
Well, that CJ's the example of it hitting. Then you're more likely in the Ronald Darby status or the Dotson type movement of player than CJ. But if you find that guy who's underutilized and all they need is playing time, it's possible. It's happened. It's happened recently with CJ. And they've gotten good players in Darby in August and Jahan, even though people don't realize it, but he had a lesser role. That's why people don't realize it. This projection would be a bigger role. So this would be more of the Darby, CJ Gardner-Johnson. By the way, if you get a Ronald Darby success story, that'd work. You don't need a star. You just need to get better. And can they get better? Yeah. I think they're going to get better. If I'm predicting, I don't think right now, if you're doing the pre-camp 53, it's pretty evident who's going to make the team on the edge. Smith, Hunt, Ojulari, Uche, Powell, Ryland. Outside shot to Patrick Johnson. But those 5 are the most likely guys that's not good enough. And if that's the case, I think you're going to see a trade during the summer.
That'll be interesting. I don't know if a trade's coming or not, but we will see. And obviously, I'm pretty confident in Jalen Hunt, but there's still a lot to handle there at the edge rushing position. John, I want to move to a couple other areas because you look at this back end of the roster and the way you have to manipulate it. I talked to you about how many edge rushers they're going to keep with Ed. You said 6. Or did you say 5?
He said 6. I said 5.
He said 6. Okay, you said 5.
They're not good enough with 5. I'm not keeping 6.
I know.
Then you're taking away from somewhere else.
Hey, I like your take because in my eyes it was Nolan, Jalix, Uche Ojulari, and then either APR or Patrick Johnson. But you kind of put APR as the guy and then moved Uche or Patrick Johnson as the 5th guy, which I think is a little bit better because they'll probably lean toward the draft pick if they're going to keep a pass rush specialist. That's what Uche is as well. And now you need that 5th guy to be more versatile. Maybe that does leave Uche on the outside looking in, but I was hoping that Uche would be the guy that would be here to be a pass rush guy.
Well, they might need him. It's again, when you're talking about the 5th guy, it's like, what's your favorite flavor? Do you need a special teams player? Does Michael Clay need something more on special teams? Maybe some guys offer things elsewhere that you're not even thinking about at different positions that can play more of that inside coverage role on kicks and punts and blocking as well. So it could be a tight end. It could be a lot of times those final 2 or 3 spots are not, people tend to boil them down to what I just said, Patrick Johnson versus Josh Uche. It might really be Patrick Johnson against Harrison Bryant, since JD was talking about, who can help more on special teams. It might be more about that, but people tend to compartmentalize too much when it comes to the back end of the roster.
Right.
And because people ignore the 3rd phase a lot, because somebody's got to play special teams, unless you could end up costing yourself games. So that factors into it as well.
John, talk to me about do you think the Eagles are going to use a fullback this year more?
Yeah, more. Yeah, definitely. Not a ton, but yeah, they're pretty hyped up.
We talked about it a little bit. So what does that look like? Does that mean I don't know, the Harrison Bryant truth or JD is in the chat. Does that make sense as him as the 3rd tight end? Do they, make a roster spot for it? Is it Ben Van Sumeren? I feel like that also adjusts the back end of the roster decisions as well.
Yeah, Ben's the fullback. That's the reason they're doing it. Or they're projecting to do it. Now you got to see how healthy he is coming back from an ACL. So, that can always factor into it. But the reason Jeffrey Lurie was talking about that, the reason they're talking about using fullback more is because of what Ben did before he got hurt last year. And he was so effective as a lead blocker. And we're talking like it was 22 snaps. That's it. And then he got hurt. But they really liked what was going on, and they really wanted to expand on it. So, again, that's not like they're going to turn into a fullback offense. If people think that ain't happening, but they want to use it a little bit more, and it's got to do about Ben Van Sumeren, nobody else. If Ben Van Sumeren is not healthy, they're not running a lot of fullbacks out there.
And so how many tight ends are they going to keep?
2 or 3, depending on other positions. Again, how many offensive linemen they want to keep? Like,
that's a tough one.
It's and how he likes to keep his draft picks. So, if he wants to keep Drew Kendall, which he's going to keep, Miles Hinton, which he's going to keep, Cameron Williams, maybe not, maybe he can't. Maybe he's got to get them through waivers. But if he doesn't want to risk that, probably 2, because you can go about things a lot differently. Like the presumption that, you can cut down to the initial 53. Last year, they only kept 2 tight ends and to keep another player. And then you can manipulate it by elevating, say you get Harrison Bryant or Colin Granson on the practice squad. You can elevate them for 3 weeks. By that point, on game day, by that point, somebody gets hurt and you got a spot. It tends to take care of itself. So that's some of the strategy, how he uses when he's putting together the initial 53. The biggest fallacy in football is that the best 53 make it. No. Draft status comes into it. Special teams comes into it. That's why I say, Terrace Marshall's the 4th best receiver on this team. Pretty clear. Now he's got to bring what he did in the spring to the summer. But do you need a receiver who's not going to play versus a guy who can help you on special teams to be whether he's a returner or a coverage guy or a gunner?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And you can probably get somebody on the practice squad. Again, you have 17 and veterans can be on the practice squad now. So you can do a wink deal, especially guys who are vested don't have to go through waivers. They're immediately free agents. So you can do the wink thing they did with Nick Gates last year. They said, we're going to cut you at the 53, but we're going to bring you back. You can do that. They don't have to go through waivers. It's more dangerous because you can't do the wink deal. If somebody claims you, they claim you. So with vested guys, you can do the wink stuff where, sit tight. We're going to bring you back.
We'll see how that shakes out for sure. Let's get to a couple more super chats. JD checked in. He followed up on this. I think I got a pumper super chat too. I'll get to. I don't disagree. I disagree. I don't think you say you're going to revitalize the fullback position on a guy who played 22 snaps. You're bringing another guy, Harrison Bryant.
I don't care if you disagree, JD.
Well, I do think the 22 snaps thing is concerning on Van Sumeren with the roster crunch. You're going to keep him around. You know what I mean? I don't think that's unfair to think as a potential outcome.
Yeah, anybody can have their opinion. I'm talking to the guys who made I know what they're doing. People don't have to believe it. He played 22 snaps. They stumbled onto it. Ben played fullback in college before he switched to defense. He was a very good skill position player if you want to go all the way back to high school. Went to Michigan first, then he went to Michigan State. But so he has fullback in his background. If you remember, they started putting him in late in games as they're playing, and there were just these massive holes that he was helping create for Saquon as they closed out games. They got very enamored with it. They were going to increase the role as the season went on. He got hurt in practice. He tore his ACL. That's the limited snap count. It was going to be up. It was going to go, not to a huge degree. Again, even this year, if he plays 17 games fully healthy, you're probably talking about 150 at the max. And that's if things go correctly. If you're closing out games, if you're leading late, things like that. It's not like they're going to a fullback in the old days with Tom Rathman and Roger Craig. They're not going to play like that. It's going to be a very situation type environment. And then Ben's also one of the best special teams players. So he's already got that value, and he can play linebacker. So there's tremendous versatility. They're creating this role because he created it. They tried it. He did it well. And if it works, and again, it has to work, it's about him. They're not bringing in some H-back guy. They didn't say, we're going to use a fullback come hell or high water. They like what Ben provided. That's why Jeffrey was talking about it.
Right.
That's what they're thinking. That's why they switched his position. That's when they signed him to his extension, they called him a fullback, and they moved him from linebacker. I again, you don't have to believe me. Wait to see it unfold. This is not speculation. You can wait to see it unfold.
JD, thanks for the super chat. B Pumper checking in. He says, y'all sleeping on Psycho Sid, a.k.a. Sid Vicious. You casuals like Zander forgot he was one of the few bright spots of 2023. I'm cooking the haters.
Well, I think a lot. I think a lot. Well, Zander brings up that he didn't play.
I'm not a City Brown.
Well, I don't think you're a hater, but you bring up a lot that he didn't play last year. And I no matter how many times I say it, people don't believe he was hurt. He was not 100%. And Vic said it in the spring. He didn't do anything until October. Those are Vic's words, not mine. And Vic. People should know Vic.
Right.
And you're deep in season. Look at Cooper missed 20 days in training camp. It cost him 6 weeks. So by that point, he became comfortable with McMullen, and McMullen became the safety. It wasn't because he beat out Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown wasn't healthy. Now, I do believe that Sidney is not the type of safety that Vic wants. He's more of a box safety, old school box safety.
Yeah, right.
He wants a coverage guy. He wants a guy who's comfortable in space. That's why they drafted Makuba. That's right. What he does.
And that's
well.
I think that's Sidney's biggest hurdle. Not the non-playing time. I think it's the style of safety that he is.
But where I agree with Pumper, and that's rare, is that he's a good player. If he's healthy, if he's 100%, he's a good player. I just don't know where he fits. But again, special teams, he's going to be a great coverage player, great gunner if they need him to be a gunner. Third safety, but he's not a coverage safety, and that's what Vic wants. Doesn't mean Makuba is going to earn the job. He's still got to earn the job. And I will say in the spring, and I was paying close attention to safety, Sidney still got the majority of the first team reps with Reed. So they are deferring to Sidney first. And I think that'll continue early in camp. But I think the ultimate goal is Makuba getting on the field, whether that's week 1 or week 4 or 5.
Right.
But same thing I say with Trotter. If Sidney Brown's on the field week 1 and he plays well, they're not taking him off. Luxury of playing time.
We'll see. Come on, casual pump over there in Asia or Indonesia or wherever the heck you are. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you, man. Skywalk checks in. Hey, guys, love the show. Skywalk, appreciate that, man. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Thank you for loving the show. If you're new here, we'll be here all season long, brother, breaking down the team, covering the team. Johnny Mac will be live at NovaCare for the practices. He'll be at the games as well. So plenty of great content coming for you, Skywalk. We appreciate you checking in, brother, and sharing the super chat with us. As always, Johnny Mac, good stuff so far. We're going to take one more commercial break because we had 0 of them yesterday, so I got to hit one more. But many good things to talk about, John, as we are here in camp. I think the Kevin Patullo stuff is interesting as well, while I am more confident on him than previous changes. But the youth movement versus the veteran core, I think that's one of the best things to talk about now is, this is a very, very young roster. Will they be able to overcome all of those things? I think so. And then the 2025 draft class is interesting as well. We just talked about Makuba, but Campbell, in my eyes, has flown under the radar. How many of those day 3 picks could become an impact on the team this year? I think a couple of them. We'll talk about some of that when we come back here on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. The Philadelphia Eagles report to training camp today. Johnny Mac mentioned the Birds posted up a picture of Jalen Hurts arriving to camp. So it's going to be exciting to watch all the players trickle in for camp this year. And then they'll be on the practice field for the first time tomorrow. John will be down there in the morning. So our show tomorrow will be in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be live in the morning from 8 a.m. for anybody that's used to checking in at 8 a.m. But I will probably not have John tomorrow because of all the different things that he has to do on day one, getting the camp, getting the credential and all those different things. So, but after that, we will have a quick morning segment normally when our show is in the night. So I'll keep you guys posted on all that. Make sure you guys lock in tomorrow night, though, from 6 to 8 p.m. after the first day of practice for training camp. So that should be pretty good. John, I want to talk about a couple more things, a couple more depth pieces, and a couple more of the roster moves that we're going to have to look for. I think we all feel pretty good about the offensive line coming into the year. But, man, they got a lot of guys, Johnny Mack. How do you see that playing out? You got Drew Kendall, Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, all rookies. You got Trevor Keegan from last year. You got Matt Pryor, obviously, is here. You got Kendall. What's his name? Kendall Lamb. You got the why am I blanking on the guy who they traded for? The Houston guy. What's his name?
Kenyon Green.
Kenyon Green.
I don't think Kenyon Green's making this team.
I don't either.
Because Howie just does not want to cut draft picks. And to the point of, I think a lot of people have dismissed Trevor Keegan because you don't hear a lot about him. Essentially redshirted last year, played a little bit in, the meaningless Week 18 game. I don't even think he wants to cut him. Now, Kendall Lamb is a little bit of a wild card simply because he was going to retire. And so, he's near the end of his career. So who knows, maybe that's a Devontae Parker situation where things aren't going well for him and he just calls it quits. But as I've mentioned on the past and on the show, he's played a lot of NFL football, man. Started a lot of games. And if they really want to feel comfortable at swing tackle, he's the guy as the backup swing tackle to replace Brett Johnson. So Matt Pryor, he can play 4 positions. I mean, he might be their best right guard. I find it hard to believe they're moving on from him. And then you have the day three guys. Kendall's, to me, is obviously going to be the backup center because they don't want to force Landon Dickerson into that role, which he had to do last year. And then you have Miles Hinton and Cameron Williams. So I mentioned Keegan, Kenyon Green. We don't even talk about Brett Toth. We talked about him earlier in the show. He's been around, backup center, can play a bunch of different positions. Can't keep them all.
Yeah, it's a lot, John. How many are they going to keep? 10?
I think they might go. They're definitely going to keep 10. I think they might go 11 because they value it so much.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me if they go 11. I would bet on 10. But they have so many, like I said, NFL caliber bodies. I think I counted to 14. They're going to have to cut some people that should be on NFL rosters. And I don't think they're moving on from any of the rookies. Now, again, if Cameron Williams or Miles Hinton show up and they're just overmatched and terrible, I think it's possible they put them on waivers and try to get them to the practice squad. But that would have to be a really poor summer for both. And I could see them cutting Trevor Keegan. I'm not saying it's impossible because this is year 2. I could see them cutting Kenyon Green. I could see them cutting Kendall Lamb because they say, you know what, Pryor can do it, especially if Tyler Steen holds the right guard job. So there's a bunch of different avenues. But bottom line is They like to defer to rookies if at all possible, and they got a bunch of offensive linemen, which is a good thing.
Yeah, they really do. It's going to be interesting to see who they cut there, John. Plenty of other positions to talk about too, as well here. I'm going to talk to you about the draft class. All right, I think we talked about Makuba enough. I don't need to talk about him right now. And Jahad Campbell, I think we all know, is kind of up in the air. But the day 3 picks are interesting. We just talked about a couple of them: Kendall, Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams. We talked about APR earlier in the show. He could be vying for an edge rusher role. But then you got guys like Ty Robinson, Mac McWilliams, Smile Munden, and Kyle McCord, who I think is going to be the quarterback 3. But let's start with Ty Robinson, John. What kind of impact do you see him having on this team this year?
Well, I think he's got the inside track to be the 4th man in the rotation inside, but I do think people are sort of handing him, not the Eagles, but I think a lot of people outside are handing him that role. I do think Thomas Booker still has a chance. Even Byron Young. I mean, one weird thing that happened yesterday, the Eagles tried out 3 players. A lot of teams try out players, not only at the beginning of camp, but throughout the season. They have tryouts for 2 reasons. One, you want to keep a dossier, sort of build up a dossier on players that are available in case guys get hurt. But sometimes you're just looking to improve. What was strange about the 3 players the Eagles worked out yesterday, they were all defensive tackles. And I think a lot of people look at defensive tackle and say, yeah, they're fine at defensive tackle. Maybe the Eagles don't think they're fine at defensive tackle. Now, the one obvious glaring weakness on paper to me is they don't have a backup nose tackle for Jordan Davis. So when I was looking in, and I got to look at the players again because, they weren't familiar players by any stretch or veteran players. Let me pull it up. So the 3 players they worked out were Joe Evans, Texas San Antonio player, Leonard Payne, Colorado, and a recent UFL player, Jacob Sykes. Now, my assumption when I saw it was that they're looking for the big body because they've been looking for that guy for years, a backup nose tackle. And sure enough, the first guy, Evans, is a nose tackle. He's a big nose tackle. Started LSU before he went to Texas San Antonio. Weighed like 337 pounds. Evidently lost a little weight down in Indianapolis. He was with the Colts for part of the spring. But he's a big body. And I'm thinking, all right, they're looking for a nose tackle. But the other guys, Payne, he's more of a hybrid end tackle type. And Sykes weighs 277 pounds. So something's going on. And again, the backups are, again, if you use the 5-man front, the starters are Carter, Davis, and Jomo. 4-man front, it'll be Carter and Davis. Jomo's your top backup. Then Ty Robinson would be 4 in most people's thought. Then Thomas Booker, then Byron Young, then Gabe Hall. Or Gabe Hall ahead of Byron. Could go either way. They might not be happy with that backup situation.
It's not too. It could pan out good too. There is it's kind of can go both ways. It could be better than expected, or it could be a lot worse than expected.
Yeah, I just thought it was notable. They tried out 3 players and they were all defensive tackles,
right?
Which is rare when you do that type of thing. You bring in a group to look at it, because you're building it. If you're just doing it to build up what I said, that build up dossiers on players that are available in case of injuries down the road, you're generally bringing in a group in different positions and guys who are available. Defensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive tackle. That was notable to me. And probably an indication that they want to get better depth-wise.
I wonder if any of those guys will make the team. We'll see. We will see.
They got to get signed before they make it.
That's what I meant. I wonder if anyone will get signed going into camp. That should be interesting to see. John, what about Mac McWilliams, the next pick in that day 3? I think he's kind of, I don't know, he's fallen under the radar. I know why. He's a 5th-round pick. I get it. He's not probably – it's more likely he doesn't make much of an impact this year than that he does. But I think with the cornerback fluctuation or the question marks on the cornerback spot, I think there's a small chance maybe he is used this year, even if it's a small role. But, you got the nickel. Could he play any nickel if they kick Cooper to the outside? I don't think they will. If Keely Ringo falls flat and you have to put Cooper to the outside and Adoree Jackson isn't quite what you thought he was or he's past his prime, you think there's any role for Mac McWilliams on the team this year?
Well, he's going to make the team. But I think if he's playing, something went wrong via injury or ineffectiveness. So, if you look at last year, there was a lot of hype around the 5th-round picks. None of them played. Trotter would be, on special teams played. Keegan, as I mentioned, didn't play until the week 18 game, and Ananias was basically kept because he was a 5th-round pick. So he's going to make the team. And I think he looked pretty good in the spring. He looked pretty comfortable. But clearly, if he's playing, something went wrong. And then you're thrown into the deep end of the pool. But he'll be here, no doubt about it. He'll be here.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with him. And then Smile Munden, John, that other day 3 pick that's kind of out there. I know Trotter's there, but some people think Smile Munden has a bigger upside than Trotter. Played, obviously, his college ball at the University of Georgia. Was a pretty good linebacker there. What kind of role do you think he has this year on the team?
Same thing. He's going to be on the team. He's not going to play. If he does, it'll be on special teams. And, it's about longer term. Does he have – he's a better athlete than Trotter. Probably Trotter has better instincts. So, I don't know. But you're talking 5th-round pick. Trotter's just further along. But long term, you're pretty set up at linebacker. Even if it's Jihad coming back this year and then Nakobe coming back this year from injury, and then moving forward, even if Nakobe moves on, you still have Baun and Campbell and Trotter, and then Smile would factor in as that 4th linebacker. So, yeah. And, if he develops and gets better behind the scenes, but that's what you want with day 3 picks. You don't want day 3 picks playing right away.
When everybody's healthy too, is there a chance? I mean, he could get waived probably, right? I mean, when Jihad's back, when Nakobe's
if Jihad and Nakobe are back, at the, if Nakobe beats all expectations, yeah, it's going to be tough to keep him.
I think he's the guy that would get picked up.
But yeah, I don't think Howie would risk it. Like, he does not like cutting his picks, if anybody hasn't noticed that. The problem this year for Howie's got 10 picks.
Yeah. Well, again, he did cut a pick last year.
Well, he did, and he it's not 100%. He did and he didn't. And he didn't want to lose him. So that's why I say with Cameron Williams, and you're talking about Dylan McMahon, he's making these. If he thinks there's any chance that somebody's getting claimed off waivers, he's not cutting them. So, when he does, he thinks the guy's getting through. And to his, credit, Dylan did get through originally. and then got signed off the practice squad by the Rams, who had some injury issues on the interior of their offensive line. And that's sort of like, there's nothing you can do about that. But he made the right call that he would get through waivers. So, but with Anias, who I say all the time, did not deserve to make the team from a meritocracy standpoint, if you're going to be honest.
Right. Yeah, he had a very underwhelming camp last year.
Yeah. He, you know, used the IR stuff, came up with the ankle. Like, he was not putting him at waivers because the player was at Texas A&M. He thought somebody might take him. So, you know, he went through all the hoops and that kind of stuff. He does not like cutting draft picks. And nobody does. No GM does. At some point you should. But you know, he's gotten, and it's gotten worse. Like, he does not want to cut draft picks. Which is, again, could be good, could be bad. Now, recently they had a lot, they've done a good job drafting. So, I mean, if you go back to 2024, it's Quinion, Cooper, Jalix, Will, Shipley, Anai Smith, Trotter, Keegan, Wilson, Dylan McMahon. That's a lot of draft picks.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of picks.
Now he's got 10 this year. The year prior was Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen, Sidney Brown, Kaylee Ringo, Tanner McKee, Moro Jomo. All good picks. You didn't have to worry about cutting people. The year prior to that, it was Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, Kyron Johnson, Grant Calcaterra. Much smaller draft class. Kyron Johnson, you know, wouldn't have mattered. But for the most part, you got to go all the way back to 2021. Jacoby Stevens was a 6th-round pick. He was a linebacker. They were trying to turn it into a safety. And I think that was the problem. You know, he's trying to change positions in camp. They cut him. You really got to go back to that, which is crazy. Now, a lot of it is they're just good players. But now he's got to keep 10. He's got to find a way to keep 10. And obviously, it's easy. Campbell, Makuba, Ty Robinson, easy. But then everybody else, it's like it should be a meritocracy. Now, you know 100% he's not cutting Kendall and McCord. You know, but if McWilliams, Smile, Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, APR, if they show up and perform poorly,
it's going to be tough to keep them because of the numbers.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right, last question of the day, Johnny Mac, and I want everybody in the chat to take part in this question. All right, I need all of you guys to give me your answer to this, and I'll see what Johnny Mac has to say as well. So if you're in the chat, Patriot, Chris Scott, Real Zeal, Abe, Moore, what's up, Moore, 2011, Fly Parks is in there, JD's in there, Original Philly, Real Rich. All right, so everybody comment what you guys think. Which of these returning youngsters taking a bigger role will have the best season this year? Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo, or Moro Ijoma?
Well, it better be Nolan Smith.
I kind of feel like it's going to be Moro Ijoma.
It better be Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith has to be a legit, a borderline star. The other guys can persevere and do a good job and say,
is that what you think, though? Because I didn't ask you what they need. I said what.
Yeah, Nolan's the best player of that group. Nolan's a good player. I don't doubt.
I like him. My concern on Nolan really doesn't have much to do with his talent on the field. It's more about.
I don't know if he's a number one edge rusher.
Yeah, that's a question. That's a fair question.
But he's a good player. But he's a good player. He's a much better player than Moro or Kaylee. Even, you know, I think Kaylee's got a huge upside. But if you're being fair, like Nolan's got every bit the physical gifts of Caley at his position, and he's just better. And Morrow, same thing. He's just better. He's better. He's a better football player.
Morrow, I think, as well. I mean, I think he's been better than anybody expected. He's further along going into year 3 at this point than Milton Williams was going into year 3. And Jomo was a 7th-round pick. Milton was a 3rd-round pick. Like, I think Morrow Jomo has outplayed what the expectation was so far.
Well, sure, but the expectations were a 7th-round pick. I disagree with you on Milt. Milt was a damn good player
Going into year 3?
Yeah. The issue with Milton was a lot of people didn't recognize it because he wasn't playing as much because
well, yeah, I mean the roster
Fletcher was still Fletcher was still here.
But Milton didn't do as much in year 2 as Morrow did in his year 2.
Milton, I think you're overestimating what Morrow did. Now Morrow had good pressure percent. I don't think he had a sack until, which is funny because Eagles fans tend to be obsessed with sacks. I don't think he had a sack until the postseason. I could be wrong. He might have had one. I'd have to look it up. But he did. He was pretty consistent when it came to generating pressure, which to me is more important. So I'm not trying to downplay it because I think Morrow played very effectively. But again, you had Jalen Carter playing at an all-pro level. You had Milton Williams playing at an all-pro level. So we talk about Milton playing off Jalen. Morrow got to play off both of them. Both of them having the season that Milton Williams had. But if you look as a rookie, Milton struggled. So I'm trying to pull up. By his second season, he was 28th out of 127. And year 3 was 32 out of 130. He was playing effectively the whole time, except as a rookie, which is understandable. And then last year he just took off like a shot. Yeah, for whatever reason, man. I don't know what it is, but that is a damn good player that Philadelphia Eagles fans should have loved. Now, he left, so I get it, but the page has turned way too quickly on Milton Williams because he was effing phenomenal last year. Phenomenal. And yes, is it nice to play next to Jalen Carter? Yes. You're going to see the difference this year between how good Milton was and I don't think he's going to live up to his contract because I don't know if Jalen Carter could live up to that contract. And he's going to get a much higher contract, obviously.
I think Carter could live up to it.
But you're talking about top of the level, top tier, and there's always concern when you're, if you have a little bit of a down season and you're expected to be the best defensive tackle in football, are people going to start talking, yada, yada, yada. It's hard to do. But man, I mean, people are just skipping. It's like, did you watch that guy play last year? You're the Eagles fans.
I watched him. He was damn good, but Morrow was pretty good too. And I'm thinking that Jalen Carter is going to help Morrow in the same way that he helped Milton.
I like.
I don't know. I feel like look, Milton Williams is a great player. I feel like you're talking about him like he was Jalen Carter last year. He wasn't. He was a good player last year. He wasn't irreplaceable. He wasn't, a superstar.
Nobody's irreplaceable. Nobody.
Well,
Nobody in the history of professional football is irreplaceable. You just got to go about things different ways. So by no means am I saying he's irreplaceable. I'm saying you're not going to get play similar to Milton Williams at that position this year.
I think you might. I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think they have a chance with Jomo. I like Jomo.
Okay. All right.
Well, what are the
We'll
stats
check
show
in. I'll be here. We'll check
didn't
in.
Jomo have pretty good numbers last year too in terms of pressure and all those things?
Yeah, well, the entire Eagles front did. So you're going to see, Jalen Carter is a big part of it. Jalen Carter, I say all the time, he's the most talented defensive player the Eagles have had.
That's what I mean.
Years.
That's why I'm projecting Morrow is in a good shape because he's still going to have Jalen Carter next to him.
I think he's going to do a solid job. I don't think he's going to turn into what Milton Williams was last year.
We'll see. I think he is, but we'll see what ends up happening. One more super chat, John, and we'll get out of here. Philly Don, what's up, Philly Don? Good to see you back in here, my friend. He says that Jomo is going to have a big season and have 5 to 7 sacks. Another guy who's high on more with Jomo. Philly Don, Johnny Mac. I really don't care about sack numbers, by the way.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
I
don't give a rat's ass what if he's effective.
What did Milton have last year? 5 sacks, I think.
Something like that. I don't know. I can't even tell you. That's how little I pay attention. How many Jalen Carter have?
I have no clue.
5.5. Who gives a shit? Yeah, this is my problem with the defense and the expectations. Ringo's not Slay. Ajomo's not Williams. Hunt is not Sweat. Makuba is not CJ.
Yeah, but I mean that's no shit. No shit. Every defense has to come together differently. Every defense is going to have a different.
But I feel you say no shit, and I agree with you. And then in the prior, you were just saying, well, Jomo is going to be every bit as good as Milton.
Well, no, I'm confident in that.
Now you got to go. You got to go about it a different way. I just said no, but none of these guys are irreplaceable. But they got to go about it a different way. And they have to play a little bit differently, and they're going to have to make up for the impact of these players. Now, some of these players may have come back next year and not had as good of seasons that they had. That happens as well. That's what we're talking about. Some guys are going to go up. Some guys are going to go down. I'm saying, let me make this clear. The way those 4 players played last season, now maybe they would have all returned in a best case scenario, and money didn't matter, and money was no object, and you could run it back. They're probably not going to have the same seasons they had last year. All of them, maybe 1 or 2 even surpass it, but maybe 1 or 2 or 3 go backwards. The fact that people believe that these players, these young players, for the most part, are largely unproven, are going to play the way those players played last season, that's fucking astonishing to me. Now, maybe Ringo 2 years from now, or maybe Morrow 2 years from now, maybe it happens, but there's going to be steps to that.
Well, there's no doubt about that, especially when you have a year as good as last year was, John. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I understand that part of it. But my take is that I do think that Ajomo is a better player than, I'm more confident in that replacement than some of the others. I'll say that.
Well, levels, I mean, yeah, well, that depends. I mean, the most confident of the group that you said to me is Nolan. I mean, Nolan's good. Can he do it for 17 games in the playoffs and at his size? That's
John, Jomo is 82.6 pass rush grade last year, 5th best in the NFL.
Oh, he's great. He's great and very limited playing time. Now he's got to step up. Now, again, there's a trickle-down effect.
How many snaps did he play last year? 400?
What's that?
How many snaps did he play last year? 400?
Including the playoffs, yeah. He was above Jordan Davis when you count the playoffs.
That's right. People are more happy.
Yeah, because he played a little bit more in the playoffs because the Eagles and he played a little bit more as the season went on because the Eagles, Vic found out he could stop the run with 4-man fronts, so they limited the 5-man fronts, which hurt Jordan Davis's playing time. So he got an opportunity this season once he figured out, because that's the goal. The goal for Vic is to keep the extra body in coverage as much as possible. So if he can stop the run with 4, he's going to play 4.
Yeah.
But as you saw in New Orleans early in the season, he might play 6 if he doesn't think he's going to be able to stop the run. So that kind of, because the Eagles were so good, especially late, stopping the run with 4 men, he got more of an opportunity. Jordan got a little bit less, and that's why people shit on Jordan Davis. So that's kind of a give and take, depending on how effective they are stopping the run.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what all happens, Johnny Mac. Plenty of stuff to talk about. They are on the practice field tomorrow. They report today. Johnny Mac, great show. We will not talk to you at 8 a.m. tomorrow, but we will talk to you at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So we'll have a nighttime edition of Birds 365. Yeah. One more super East Coast says, Zander, you almost got to stop it from J-Mac. We're going to have to get a couple stop it's. It's been a little bit since I've gotten a stop.
Well, I would say to anybody, not just Zander, if you think they're seamlessly moving on from those 4 particular players, stop it, especially the seasons they had last year.
And I'll say to you, Milton Williams isn't Jalen Carter. John, stop it. Come on, John.
Okay. When did I ever say that?
No, I'm saying that. It just sounds like that's how you're talking about him now. Holy moly.
I'm the one who says Jalen Carter's the most talented Eagles defensive player since Reggie White.
Yes, I know you did say that. I'll give you that. All right, Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We will catch you tomorrow. Enjoy down there at the NovaCare Complex. I think everybody's excited to hear from you when you get back, J-Max. It should be a good show tomorrow night.
Well, rest assured, I won't be here at 8, but I'll be working. So,
yeah,
rest assured.
All right, J-Mac. Sounds good, brother. Catch you tomorrow.
All right. See you guys.
All right, there's Johnny Mac. John McMullen here on Birds 365. Great show today. We are officially started, everybody. The Eagles reported to camp today. They're on the practice field tomorrow. I'm fired up. Yo, Texas. I know you're like in Texas and shit, and you got Central Time. Do we look like we operate on Central Time? Do we look like a show that operates around the Philadelphia Eagles, and we use Dallas Cowboys time? Come on, Texas. No, 6 p.m. Eastern. Come on, man. Come on, man. Yo, I'm high on Moro Ojomo. All right. I get it. All these other dudes got questions. We saw Moro Ojomo be pretty good when he was on the field. And I think Philly Don said it. There was no drop-off. Where is it? Let me find the Philly Don comment. There it is. When Ojomo came into the game, you didn't see a drop-off in the pass rush or the run. I agree, Don. I think John's talking about Milton a little bit too high there. A little bit too high. So I'm pretty confident in Moro Ojomo. We got plenty of good. There is a lot of good storylines. All right, going into camp with all the young guys, with all the young players stepping up, with the guys that are lost. But John and Cilio are both selling me this bill of goods that it's all bad. Losing players is all bad. Meanwhile, every effing team in the league loses players year in and year out. That's what it's like. Welcome to the NFL. They lost 5 of 22 starters. They're returning 17 out of 22. Like, that's not that crazy, everybody. That's not that crazy. I mean, come on, man. I'm tired of being sold this bullshit of everything is not going to work out. How about no? How about until I'm proven that it doesn't work out, I'm going to believe it will work out? Because the Eagles have been pretty damn good the last 4 years. All right? The Eagles have been pretty damn good. I'm not buying what they're selling. Tony, what's up, my dude? How you doing, brother? JC, Abe. Yo, Abe, I love you. I saw a lot of bitching from you in the chat today. I saw a lot of bitching from you in the chat today. All right? There's my boy Curtis. They are just saying there is bound to be a drop-off at some of these positions. I think that's okay because the offense is everything it needs to step up. Yo, Curtis, take that fear bullshit and go over somewhere else, Curtis, with that crap. You sound like you're McMullenized and Cilio-ized. There's bound to be a drop-off. Yeah, I know. All right, Curtis. Abe, it's all good, bro. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, Big Sills and Birds 365 back-to-back. All right? That'll be tomorrow. Chris Scott says, these beat writers never talk about how Q, DeJean, Baun, Carter, Smith, Hunt can be by being this defense for 2 seasons now. Yeah, and yo, Chris, what's the other ironic part about that comment? Q, DeJean, Baun, Carter, Smith, and Hunt. What's the other ironic part about your comment, Chris? What's the other ironic part about that comment? All of those guys had proven nothing coming into the year last year. All of them proved nothing coming into the year last year, and all of them were superb. Now, is that all on the individual player? Well, certainly some of it is. Or is it on the infrastructure you have set up, with the coordinator you have set up, with the organization operating the way it's operating, with all of those different things going into their player evaluation? And now I'm supposed to just sit here and say, oh, the last 4 years, they've had unbelievable player development. They've drafted a lot of great players. All the guys we needed to step up stepped up when they were called on. And now that we need more people to step up, I'm supposed to sit here and say, none of them are going to step up. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm not buying that. And nobody's selling me on it. These two have been trying to sell me on it all summer. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. If the Eagles have had a bad last 4 years and they haven't drafted well like they weren't, a couple years back, okay, then maybe I'll buy that. Maybe I'll buy that. But I'm not buying it. Paul Mancini says, Eagles offense will need to carry the team the first 4 to 6 games of the season as the young Eagles defense starts to gel. Now, that I do agree with. Paul, I do think the offense has to take on some of that at the start of the year. All right. Here's Curtis. Curtis, you need to submit an application to be John's personal wingman. You're like explaining everything to me for John. Curtis, I know what he meant. Curtis, I know what he meant. No one is saying nobody will step up, just that some of them might not. Yeah, and all of them might. I mean, that people say you're wearing eagle glasses if you project them to go this way. But if you project them to go this way, you're just being objective. Well, no, you're just more pessimistic. I mean, if you want to take that approach, then it's a wait and see on everybody. Everybody that's new coming in, it's wait and see. But if you're going to project them to be worse, or in my case, project them to be better, then stand on it. Or just say, well, wait and see. Milton Williams, wait and see. Jumaro Jomo, wait and see. Keely Ringo, wait and see. Andrew Makuba, wait and see. That's fine, but I'm doing a sports talk show. I can't sit here and say wait and see all day. All right? Nobody wants to hear that. Some Eagles fans are negative. Yeah, I know. Abe says this season is going to be another movie. I do feel good about the season. I will say I do feel good about the season. And I know, look, I'm an Eagles fan. Sure, I'm wearing Eagles glasses. I know. I get it. I've heard it. I hear it every single day from John and Cilio. I get it. I feel like this is a special group. I feel like Jalen Hurts is a special quarterback in terms of his mindset and his approach to the game. Right? A lot of guys have talent. Certain guys that you talk about in the history of the sport have a different it factor that they bring to the game. I think Jalen has that. So I feel like with him at the helm, with how he operates and the way he's operating, with Nick, who I feel like Nick has settled into who he is more now than ever. With the right coordinators in the room, we'll see about Patullo, but obviously got Vic Fangio. I feel like this team's in a good spot. I'm sorry, but I'm not buying the it's all doom and gloom because we lost some guys on defense. 17 to 22 starters are coming back on the best team in football. How many other teams are returning that many starters? Seriously. I don't know. I'm asking the question. I'm not sure. Is there anybody that's returning more than 17 of their 22? I don't know. Like, there's turnover. It's like, welcome to the NFL. It's the professionals. It's not college. It's professional football. Guys get signed elsewhere. Guys get traded. It all happens. It happens every single year. It happened from 21 to 22, 22 to 23, 23 to 24, and it happening from 24 to 25. It's a part of it. It's a part of it. We got a special young player at the most important position on the team. And I'm not only talking about talent in that, because here come all the people, guys, he's not top 5. Yes, he is, one. And number two, there's more that goes into the position than talent. Because if it was only talent, Aaron Rodgers would get rings every year, and Dan Marino would have more rings, and Tom Brady probably wouldn't have 7. There's more to it than talent. Jalen, in my eyes, has everything else you would dream of a quarterback having. And I think a lot of his mindset has given a sense of stability to the rest of the players in the room. Well, Fredo says, Jalen is a new offensive coordinator every year, and he proved people wrong. This Eagles team is different. Yeah, no, they are. They are. We'll see. We'll see what happens this year. I mean, I'm also not sitting here and saying, oh, there's a 100% guarantee that the team is going to be Super Bowl. No, I mean, they got to play. They got to show up. They got to work their ass off. They got to go through the process. They got to, put the grind in. They got to put the time in, the effort, the dedication. They got to go through the ups and downs of the season, which are inevitable in any football season. I understand all that. They got to go through that, but that's a part of the journey. That's an inevitable part of the journey, Whether the season is historic or the season is an epic failure, those variables are inevitable. The ups and the downs, the journey, the process, the grind, the practice, the training camp, the working after, the learning of the offense and the defense, the communicating with your players, the leadership aspect, the connecting with one another in the locker room. Those are all things that, whether they're good or bad, are going to happen anyway. Couple that with what I think is a special group of players, Well, I got top 5, Curtis, so I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Reyes, we could have lost BVS, Bradbury, Huff, and Fred Johnson, and Stills would have still said something. Yeah, no, I mean that's true. But again, I mean they're riding the pine, they're riding the middle, of I don't have to be an Eagle fan and I'm not an Eagle hater. This could happen. But if you say it could be better, you're now the Eagle green colored glasses guy. It's like, no, you can't sit here and say it could be worse and then call me an Eagle truther when it could be better. If you're going to take that again, then just ride the pine. Fucking ride the middle until you know if that's what you want to take. Ride the middle. Ride the middle. East Coast, what up, East Coast? He says, J-Mac used if a lot. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Facts, East Coast. Facts. I was a little surprised on the Moro Ojomo thing. You're more confident in Keely Ringo than Moro Ojomo? I mean, look, I'm excited for Keely Ringo too. I think he's got great potential. I think he's got big upside. But, it's a little contradictory. Moro Ojomo actually has been on the field and has proven in at least some sample size that he can be a good player. But now I'm like going nuts if I think Moro Ojomo is going to be a good player. It's like, I've seen it. Now, yeah, will it extrapolate? Can you do it in a bigger role? I get all those things. But how are we higher on Keely Ringo, a guy that's never stepped foot on the fucking field for meaningful snaps, over Moro Ojomo, who I watched play great football into a Super Bowl run and in the playoffs? I don't know, man. I don't know. Some of this shit I feel like is just the Eagles were so good last year that it's so easy for John and Cilio to predict them to come down a little bit. It's like that's the easy way out. Yeah, no shit. They were that good last year. Anybody that's that good will probably look a little different the year after. Yes, of course. Whatever. All right, everybody. I'm fired up. I'm fired up for camp. I'm fired up that the season is here. I'm fired up for football. I'm fired up for football. You know, I grew up and I was like a sports fan I loved all sports. You go inside and the night comes and it's like, all right, what sports games on tonight? Baseball, hockey, football, basketball. And as I've grown older, and I don't know if this is the sports problems or a me thing or my problem, but football is the only one left that I really get juiced up about. Like, I like the other sports, but I don't wait for them. You know, I don't like get jacked up for them. Maybe blame the Sixers for that. Like, I get excited for the Eagles. Like, I get pumped. Like, I get butterflies in my stomach when the Eagles game is about to kick off. Like, I really do. Like, I'm watching the game and it's about to kick off. Like, I feel the Eagle butterflies hit me. I don't feel that with any other sport. I don't know if that's just a me thing. I know other people are fans of other sports as well. I am. But holy shit. I'm getting them right now. Woo! I'm getting a little bit of goosebumps. So I'm excited, man. I'm really pumped for this Eagles team. I'm just enjoying, too. The other thing is, as an Eagle fan, is I know we all want to win the Super Bowl, and that's obviously the goal every single year. But you do, where John is right on some things, is, you know, you do have to be objective about you're not going to win the Super Bowl every year. Like, even Tom Brady didn't win every year. He lost more than he won in the end of the season. So enjoy the journey and enjoy the process and enjoy the era. Like, even if we don't win the Super Bowl this year, and I think we're going to, but even if we don't, let's just say that we don't for a second. Enjoy this era that we're in right now. All right? Because you have a special group of young players, maybe a more special group of young guys than we've ever had in Philly at one given moment. When you look at all the young players, under 26-year-old players that are on this roster and how good they already are. It's not often you talk about a guy that's 24 like Jalen Carter and say he's got Reggie White level upside, like John said. So, like, enjoy it. Even if they don't get to the Super Bowl this year, which I think they have a really good chance to. Even if they don't, as an Eagles fan, I'm excited about the next 5 years. I'm excited about this era of Eagles football. There was a McNabb era and an Andy Reid era. We're in the Sirianni and Jalen Hurts era. And this era has produced more wins for this city than any other era. And they got all the young guys on the team that they need right now to continue this level of success. Now, maybe it's not Super Bowl every year, as I just talked about. I get that. But this is an exciting time to be an Eagle fan. Enjoy this. You know, we could be 10, 20 years. In 10, 20 years, we could be like, fuck, man, do you guys remember the Jalen Hurts era? You remember how fucking fun that was? You remember how many games we won? How many games we freaking won? So enjoy it. Enjoy it regardless of what happens. Obviously, we got the goals to win the Super Bowl, and I think the team is in a good position to do it. But I'm enjoying where we are. I'm enjoying where the team is. I'm enjoying what's unfolding in front of us with this era of the Philadelphia Eagles. I love Jalen Hurts. I love Nick Sirianni. And yes, my thoughts on both of those guys has evolved a lot. But I care more about the objective results than I do about an ego-driven opinion. And I think everybody should be the same way. It's like, if you think that Hurts isn't that good and you ride that to the grave over what the objective results have been, which is success, then I'm sorry, but I stop valuing your opinion because you believe your thoughts are more important than objectively what unfolds. Jalen and Nick have led really a historic couple-year campaign in Philly, and I think it's just getting started. So I'm fucking excited. I'm excited as shit. All right. Now, I don't want you all to think, okay, now Zander doesn't care if we win the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, we want to win the Super Bowl. I'm just telling you guys that it's not going to end every single year in a Super Bowl, and that's all right. That's all right. That's part of the game that we're a fan of. That's part of why we love football, right? If I told you coming into the seasons every year, okay, the Eagles are going to finish fourth this year. The Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year. The Eagles are going to lose in the wild card, and I was right, and we knew that. Shit, we wouldn't even care that much. It would be, I wouldn't get those damn butterflies. I wouldn't get those damn butterflies I just talked about. So enjoy it. This is a fun era, man. I'm blessed to be covering this team. I'm blessed to be doing what I do right now in this era of Eagles football. I mean, fuck, I could have covered, 14 years of McNabb or 13 years of McNabb and Andy, and the closest you get is you sniff one Super Bowl. You sniff it once. We've sniffed it twice with Hurts and Nick and won it once. I mean, come on, man. Let's enjoy this. As an Eagles fan and an Eagles truther, let's enjoy this. I want everybody to really enjoy this because it's cool. It's a cool thing. It's a cool thing that we have right now in Philly. It's a cool thing to be a fan of this team. So I'm pumped about it. All right, everybody. I love all you guys. I appreciate all of you guys. We've had great viewership this week already. And I think it's going to ramp up even more with the training camp kicking off. The Eagles are on the practice field tomorrow, and they reported today. Let's go look at the Eagles' Twitter. Did any other pictures come up of the guys showing up? Because I did see the Eagles posted out. Jalen showing up. So you got Jalen rolling in. And there's all Jordan merch. I love all the Jordan merch he wears. If I was an athlete, I'm going for the Jordan sponsorship. Even over Nike, I think. Even over Nike, I think I'm going with Jordan, boys and girls. I think I might have to go Jordan. Thank you, Texas. Despite your shitty take on is the show in Central Time, you're correct about big picture. We're living good. Yes, we are. Chris Scott, I love you too, brother. I appreciate you, man. And you stay safe and blessed too. God bless you, man. God bless you. But, all right, man. Let me get the heck out of here. I appreciate all of you guys for listening. Tomorrow morning, I'll be live at 8 a.m. Now, most mornings that we have the night show, I'll be able to talk to John. So we'll have John by phone for 25 minutes or so. Tomorrow, I won't be able to get John because he's got the credential stuff. It's the first practice, so they have to get there early. Got to get all the credentials. Got to talk to got to do all that hype and hoopla and all that bullshit. All right. So probably won't have John in the morning, but I'll be here in the morning. We'll talk about some things maybe for 30 minutes to an hour. I don't know how long I'm going to go because I got the night show and I got Cilio from 2 to 6. So we're going to have plenty of content no matter what. But I'll be here for the people that like 8 a.m. content. And I'll be kicking around with you guys. I'll be taking some comments. Maybe I'll even bring a couple of guys on the show if they want. If not, all good. But I appreciate it, man. Philly Don, love you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Some car talk tomorrow in the AM. Big Preston, maybe. I don't want to piss people off. They're ready for camp, bro. Great show. I'm excited for the evening show. Big Mike, thank you, brother. M. Reyes, thanks for being here, my guy. You know I love you and I appreciate you. Devin, thank you, bro. You know I love you too, and I appreciate your support of the channel as always. Jordan does have R. There's no doubt about that. All right? There's no doubt about that. So I appreciate all of you guys. See you next time, everybody, on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.